Hey everyone!
Hey, and welcome to After Hours here at Linda's Electric Quilters.
We are super excited to have you here tonight. If you've seen our social media in the last few weeks, you've seen a project that's been super cool, table runner that Corey's done.
A lot of questions on it.
Yeah, a lot of questions. People are like, how do you do it? How do you make it? So Corey said, I'm going to make a video.
Why not? Totally. Make it easy.
Kind of, that's what we're going to do tonight, right?
Yes. So tonight we're going to be looking at the fall table runner from Nancy Hackey of Wasatch Quilting. So this is a computerized design set that you can purchase from her website.
Okay.
And it turns out looking like this, minus the fringe. The fringe is extra.
Yeah, the fringe is extra. So
but that's what it turns out to look like. We'll know your way. Okay, there we go. Yay! So it looks like that. So I'm going to take you through the setup process for it.
Okay.
You don't have to have the INNOVA machine to do it. You can use any computerized machine. That's just the one we're working on because that's what we sell.
Yep.
That's what works. So let's head over there. We're going to talk about fabric dimensions.
Yep.
One thing I do want to tell you prior to starting is we are using metallic thread on this one.
Yes.
On the bottom, I use, that I'm going to be using, bottom line.
Bottom line.
To kind of pair those together.
So metallic thread on top, bottom line on the bottom.
Correct.
What size needle are you using?
Needle size on this one really does depend on machine.
Okay.
For my machine, for my INNOVA, I can get away with a 4 or a 4.5. For other machines, you might want to go up to a 5.
Gotcha.
Just totally depends on machine.
Exactly.
Each one's different. So, wait, you've got some more. Okay, go ahead.
No, I love your blue one. I haven't really looked up close to it. I mean, when we showed it, we showed the fall color one.
I'm offended. You know what?
No,
Bye. You can do this by yourself. You haven't seen this?
Well, I've seen it, but I haven't looked up really close to it.
You know I'm really into navy and gold right now. I never thought I'd be into gold.
I know, right?
I'm into it. So here it is. So we are going to head over, look at fabric, and this one will be for Grandma tonight.
Oh,
so
she's going to love it.
She's going to love it. I hope she does.
We must be doing purple.
Of course we're going to do purple. Duh. We'll see it in a second. So let's head over to the machine.
Alrighty.
Alrighty, so over here at the machine, I've got the fabric, backing, and batting loaded for this. I just want to give you overall dimensions. So for your fabric, you're looking at about 28 by 78 for this one. We're going to do 28 this way by 78 this way. I happen to use a scrap piece of fabric because, as y'all know, I like to live a little dangerously, so it's going to be a little tight for me, but I would totally recommend, and so does Nancy Hackey, to give yourself 28 by 78 for that. When it comes to your batting, I would recommend having a dense cotton batting to help it lay nice and flat. We're using Linda's Choice, of course, our favorite go-to batting for show quilts, placemats, table runners, wall hangings, anything of that nature. And we're going to also be quilting this with metallic thread, which runs amazingly through our INNOVA machine. So we're going to hop over to computer real quick. And this is how the overall project is looking. Now, I want to always emphasize you do not have to have an AutoPilot INNOVA machine to do this. We're doing it on the machine because that's what we have. But if you have any computerized machine, you can kind of work these ways out to get something of this beautiful nature as well. And it quilts out super duper fast, which is absolutely amazing. Another thing, I will be doing this at 11 stitches per inch for this metallic, so you can really see the metallic thread. If you're doing just a regular cotton or polyester thread, you could amp yourself up to 13 or 14 stitches per inch, just because you're not really, worried about the metallic shining on just a normal plain thread. So let's get started with setup for this. I'm going to move all of this out of the way. This is just the overall project, what it's going to end up looking like. So we'll move that out of the way. Uh-oh, whole thing at one time. There we go. So first things first, I want to find the outside stitching section in my patterns. So I'm going to drag that one over. I've already imported these in from the set that I purchased. And this overall outside line, which is going to kind of give you the full dimension of it, is 20.37 by 70.77. If you do not have 20 inches of quilting area for your machine, make sure you scale this down for it to fit, or do it in 2 parts. Completely up to you. You kind of have to make that decision when it comes to what your machine can do. So I'm going to get this centered up with my fabric. My fabric is kind of this gray area. It's my sew zone where I can quilt. So I'm going to center that outside line up, just like that. I'm going to then select this line, and in my software I have a feature called Pattern Crosshair, which gives me a good centering point to work from. So I can then grab my inside portion, place that. Now, if you don't have this feature, you're going to have to kind of eyeball how this lines up, but you really want to center this inside line in between that outside line here. So with my machine, I can actually come into my align feature, and I'm going to choose a point, and I want to center it to a point, so I'm going to click on that center section. I'll accept that point, and then I'm going to click on that inside pattern that we just drug over, and it will align it perfectly in the center for this section. So I'm going to accept that, and we're going to go ahead and stitch out these first 2 lines of stitching. Before you add anything else, you want to do your outside line and your inside line. Make sure you have enough fabric and that your throat space will cover it, or you'll have to scale this all down when it comes to throat space, like I said. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Go, and we'll head over to our fabric, and it's going to start by stitching out that outer portion first. So I will pull up my thread, and I'll get that stitched out for us real quick. Going to do my tie-offs here, and then it's going to work around this. You could speed up that outer line if you're working with a metallic thread or a more specialty thread. It's always nice to slow it down just a little bit when it's doing that. Coming up here to the end of that first one, we'll go ahead and trim our threads for the top. And then what we're going to do is hit continue on our machine, and it will move to that inside line and do that portion. Okay, coming up here to the end, again, we will pull up and trim our threads. Now that we've got the inside and outside stitching lines done for us, we're going to move back to computer and do some computer work to work with the overall design for the inside section. So let's head over to computer, and I'm going to start with placing the outer feathers that go right on the inside of our outer line. So I'll find my feathers that I want to work with, and I can just scroll through, and here's my feather section. So this is my one side. I'm going to place this, again, eyeballing on this left side, getting it pretty close to work here. Because I have my pattern crosshair line, I can easily find the center of that right through that line. If you don't have any type of feature like this, you could definitely put your machine somewhere here to give yourself a straight line. Completely up to you. We're going to place this first one in, and then I'm going to actually just make a copy of this. So I'll right click and copy, or you could also drag another copy onto the screen, however you want to do it. And for this first section, I'm actually going to flip these feathers. So I can come over here on my right-hand side of my screen and flip them. I'm going to flip them over a vertical line, so they'll flip that way, kind of like a mirror almost. And I will then take that section and put it over here on this side. Again, getting that nice in alignment with where these feathers change direction, right there. Get that placed from that section here. Now I want to go ahead and look at sewing order on this because I've flipped these all around, so sewing order is kind of a mess. I want this to stitch nice and continuously going around basically in a circle. So if this one's coming here, so we're kind of going clockwise around, this one starts here, kind of goes down perfectly clockwise, but this one is against sewing order because the red ending points down here, for kind of flowing in that clockwise circle, it technically should start down here. So I'm going to select this pattern and I'm going to do a reverse sew, which will reverse the start and ends of it, and it'll place that one there. So those two are placed on those corners, or those edges, I guess they're not really corners. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the inner feather section and place that using my end snap tool. So I'm going to come into end snap. I'm going to grab my end square here, snap it to this one, grab this one, and snap it to this one. If you don't have an end snap tool, you can just place your pattern there, get it as close as possible as you can to it. For this other one, I need another same copy down here, so I'm just going to actually just drag over another copy, just like that. And I need these feathers to point the other direction, so I can just grab my end snap and bring that over here to this side, and then bring this one over here to this side. That way it's facing the right direction on this one. Hop back into my transform tool, which is kind of like home base for us, and I'm going to get these patterns to stitch continuously. Right now they're 4 separate sections, and so you'd want these to stitch all the way around continuously. So I will link my patterns together. You do it however you have it in your machine, but I'm going to link my patterns together so they will stitch continuously, just like that. Now that I have that link done, I'm going to go ahead and hit go, and we're going to start stitching our feathers. So let's head over to machine and see where we go. I'll bring up my thread and let it do its tie off for me. All right, coming up here to our almost last feather. I think we've got one more now after this one. Come in there, it'll tie off. And then I can pull up my thread and we'll move on to the next section. So I'll pull up the thread, we'll trim that away, and then we'll move into the next portion, working from outside in. So let's head over to computer and do some computer work. So let's head over there and we'll click on OK because we know it's done. And let's start working with our next section in here. So I will grab my next portion, which is going to be my curls portion. So I'll line that up. Now this one doesn't have a distinct kind of centering point like our feathers did. So I'm going to use my align feature to work with this. So I'm going to click on align and I'm going to do a horizontal line, and I want it to cut through the center of that horizontal line, and I'll click directly on that pattern crosshair that we started with. I'll accept that, and then I'll click on my pattern and it'll adjust to work with that properly. So I'll accept that. Now I need another one of those. So I'll just take this curl and I'm going to make a copy, or of course you could drag over another copy and use it. I'm going to bring this over and I want to rotate these curls to keep them going in the same direction as opposed to flipping them. We flipped the feathers because they were, that's the way they were designed to work different ways. But these curls need to stay going in the same curl direction all the way around. So we want to rotate them. So we'll select the pattern. We're going to rotate it around. And then we get to place this one on the right side. So I'll kind of guess where I think it should go, more or less. And then I'll hop into my align tool, horizontal line, click on that, accept the line, and then click on the pattern. It will adjust to make sure it's perfectly centered with that horizontal line. I'll accept that. Now I need to fit in the section of curls in between our two sides. So I will grab those curls. I love how fast and easy this is to put together on this section. So I've got this, hop in with my end snap tool, snap that one there, snap that one there, and then I'll grab one more copy of them to put down here. So let's grab this one here, close that up again. Keeping sew order consistent, we'll place this one over here and then this one over here. So you would either rotate it around and place it in, or you could flip it around if you have an end snap tool like this. But it's very important that you keep that direction going properly with these curls. Okay, you don't want them to go opposite of each other. So whatever you place on that bottom, make sure you rotate it around or use your end snap handle and snap it in. Okay, so looking at sewing order, I just need to connect everything together. So we'll start here on this first side section, and I'll come in and I'm going to link my pieces together. So I'll click the ones that I want to use, just like that, and I'll accept these. So now they're one pattern and they will stitch continuously as one. Check any spacing that you need to. You might have a little bit of shrinkage. So when I did my first one, this top curl, let me close that up there, this top curl right here hit these feathers. So I'm just going to bring it down just a little bit so I know that it's not going to hit it. And then I'll check the same one here on the bottom, and that just had everything, that one's real close there. Has everything to do with shrinkage, so go ahead and just help yourself out and make sure that you're a little bit away from those bottom ones. The side ones I was good because you have more gap on your sides, but your top and bottom, definitely check that for sure prior to starting. So I've got that done. I'm going to go ahead and click go. We're building this in sections as we go, but it's nice to see it on a video as opposed to reading it on an instruction manual. So I'll click on continue. We'll head over to our quilt. Pull up my bobbin thread. Hold that nice and taut and press continue. All right, last curl, it's rolling up to. Whenever you're doing your last section of anything, just make sure you're there to get that to line just up perfectly. Because of shrinkage, you might have a little bit of a gap, so just give the fabric a little bit of a pull, and that'll help you out. So we will pull up our threads, trim that bobbin away, and now let's look at setting up the inner portion. We've done that outer rim section right here with the feathers and the swirls. Right there. Now let's start looking at this inner portion up in here. So let's switch over to computer and take a look at that setup. So we're going to do another round of a different pattern. So we're going to open up, and this is the moon section, kind of that half moon section here. We're going to set that one on the side, and then I'm going to grab another copy of it and place this one over here. Because there's no specific sewing direction that this has to go in, you can flip it or you can rotate it, your choice. I'll just go ahead and rotate it around. And I want to get these nice and centered. So first, again, kind of eyeball that section. And then I'm going to come in with my amazing align tool, select that horizontal line, and then select the pattern so it places to that. And then this one, since we're already in that tool, I can click on this other pattern. It will, shift to the line. I'll accept it, and then I've got a nudge tool that I can just nudge that pattern in to the side here. So I know it's perfectly centered with that line, and I'm just getting it closer to the edge there. Again, that's just an eyeball on this one. Sewing order is a little off. As we can see, it's kind of all backwards. So I need my start to be down here so it goes in a nice circular clockwise motion. So I'll select this side. I'm going to go ahead and do a reverse sew, so it reverses the starts and ends. And then same thing here, I've got those, so I need to reverse that. So we've got that going in that nice circular motion. We need to place in the center sections. So I will find my center section, which I believe is this one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is. Okay. Let's get that on the screen here. So we will grab that design, just like that, and then we need two of them, so I'll just place another one right there. I'm going to select this section and come in with my end snap tool, snap these together, And then I need this one technically upside down. I could go in and flip it, or since I've got my tool here, I can just take these and flip where they go automatically, just like that. We need to get these to sew continuously, so I'm going to select the first one, and I'm going to link mine together. Again, you can do it with whatever machine you've got. You might have different tools, however you get it to work, works best for you. Get that all set up, and then you go in and you're going to start sewing that section. Head over to our quilt and take a single stitch to pull up our bobbin thread. Hold those threads nice and taut and press whatever form of continue that you've got. Alright, coming up here to the end, again, just make sure you're there to help it end off properly. We'll grab some thread, come back, take a single stitch, and tie off that section and trim it away. So back over to computer. As you can see, this goes really, really fast, which is super cool. So back over to computer. We're going to fill in our next section here. So I'm going to hop in and I'm going to grab my gather section for the left and the one for the right. We're going to stitch those out first, and then we'll work kind of from the outside in like we've been doing for all of the rounds on the outside. So I'm going to place this one on. Now this one I'm completely eyeballing. You could use your alignment tool if you have one, or any other tool that your machine may have to get it. I'm just kind of eyeballing it because I want it to be a little bit unique. Each one's a little bit different from this will be the third one that I've done. So we've got that one set. Let's do the right side now. Again, just moving it around for it to place the proper way. Completely eyeballing it, but I would double check that you're not hitting any of these outside pieces that you've already stitched, because you'd hate for that to happen. Ask me how I know. Always double check all the way around that you're good, and then we'll get these two stitched out. So we'll click on go for this. Head over to machine, and then we can start the quilting process on this. So the machine will move to where it wants to. We'll pull up our thread, and then we'll get stitching. We're coming up here to the end. It's stunning right now. I don't think the camera even does it justice on how pretty this is turning out. So let's go ahead and trim our threads away. Cut that bobbin, and then go ahead and click your OK or your continue or your next on your machine to go and do the right hand side. This leaf on the right side is done. So we will pull up our bobbin thread once more, trim that away, and now we get to set up the final portions for the inside section. So let's head back over to computer, and this is where the fun begins. So you want to go ahead and place all three of these sections on. I would place the left side, then the right, and then the middle, just so you can get an idea if you want to move anything around or make any adjustments to the patterns. So I'm going to place on my left section, then my right section, and then I'll place the middle on in a second. So I'm going to manipulate and kind of move these patterns around watch for top and bottom, but this time we also have to watch for that left side and make sure everything's nesting properly. You may have to kind of shrink things down a little bit, move things around. You want it to nest really well. So left side's pretty good. I might pull that up just a little bit. Okay. Left side's pretty good there. Let's place right side in. Let's move things around, make sure things are hitting where they need to. Looking good, looking good. Fairly close up there. Let's bring that down. And let's bring, that one's, no, it's not. Let's bring that one up just a little bit. Okay, so we've got left and right place. Now let's place in the center. And I'm going to turn off my overall crosshair so that's not in our way. There we go. So we get to place in center. And then this is where you get to make any of those final adjustments as to anything that you want or anything that you like or anything in that area. I might expand that out just a little bit. Ooh, shrink this up just a hair. Like that. Okay. So at the overall look of this, not bad. I think I've got too much gap here. So this is where you get to become more unique with your own things. I have a feeling, I don't know for sure, but I might have a feeling that she might have left a little bit of these spaces, maybe if you want to put your own wording or if you wanted to put a little symbol there for whatever works for your home or your family or anything like that. So I want to actually add in another leaf here. The rest of the space I'm pretty happy with, actually. I like a little bit of movement just in case there's some shrinkage. So let's add in a leaf right here since we're working. So I'm going to select my pattern, and I've got this really cool tool in my split section where I can do a multi-segment split. That doesn't mess up my sew order of my pattern, but it also can, divide out certain sections. So I'm going to add a split point here, and I'm going to use my nudge to drop it down. I want to get kind of the stem of the leaf, but I have no idea because there's overstitching if I click it a couple of times where I'm actually going to go. So if you start up in the leaf and then work your way back, it's a little bit of an easier way to do it. So I'll accept that, and then I'll throw in another one right here on that other side and then work my way down there as well. We'll go right there, accept that. Okay, so what I can do is I'm going to take this leaf and I'm going to make a copy of it and place it over here, and I'm going to go ahead and flip it vertically just like that, and I am going to rotate this bad boy just a little bit and maybe even scale it up. Don't want to get too close to the side there because of shrinkage in that middle section. I want to be aware of that, but get pretty decent. So I've got that one input. I want to go ahead and join it to the rest of this pattern, i.e. basically this other leaf right here. So I'm going to select the pattern that I want to join to. So I want to start here. So I'm going to hop into my join tool. There he is, accept that, and then I'm going to select the leaf, accept that, and I want to join right there, accept, and now it has joined these two leaves together as one. Now, they are still separate pieces of the pattern, so we have to keep that in mind when we're building this together. So we're going to start with our first section. Remember, it started up here to begin with. So we're going to click our first section, hop into our link tool, link it to our leaves, and then link it to the rest of the design. Click on accept, back to transform, and now I've added in that leaf. Real easy with my amazing join tool and my multi-segment split. I would go ahead and DQ everything or DQ, toggle unsewn, however you want to do it. But I would make sure that these other ones won't stitch while you're stitching one at a time. So let's go ahead and hit go. I'll tap continue, and then I will walk over to our machine, and I will pull up the thread and tap on continue for that one. It'll go ahead and stitch this one out. And just like that, y'all, we are all done with this project. So I will trim up our bobbin thread for the last time. And then I will head back into the studio with Diana and we get to take a look at the overall view of this beautiful piece.
Wasn't that so cool? I mean, the way he showed you how you can put that together, link your patterns together, and then make this beautiful table runner.
I'm coming.
Did you get it?
There it is.
Oh my goodness, we were just getting it all taken off. She is going to be in love. The purple with the silver metallic. It's kind of hard to see, obviously, on the screen.
It's not bad. I can take it close for a second.
I've
got some good views while we were
yeah, especially with all the lights and it's sparkling. Sparkle, sparkle.
Oh yeah, there it is. I love that. So pretty.
So you can take this same design set and just make it for any time of the year. It doesn't necessarily have to be just for Thanksgiving or fall. No, you can actually take it. And so we did the solid colors so you could see the patterns, but then we let her colors in her house are purple and
green.
And green.
Kind of a mint green color.
Kind of a mint green.
So that's what we had for it.
So for the backing, so when she's going to bind it, in this right here. Yeah, so I mean, she can flip it over if she just wants flowery looks in the spring. Do that for the summer. So it really doesn't matter.
Throwing this around out, man.
I know. But you can make a lot of these.
Yeah.
You can change up every color.
Yes, have fun with that. Just as a reminder, I talked about it in the beginning.
Okay.
Because we did metallic thread, I did a longer stitch length. I actually did 11 stitches per inch.
Okay.
So you can actually see the metallic.
Oh, well, that's a good idea.
If you tighten up your stitch and make it tighter, it really disappears the metallic look unless you're really looking at it.
Gotcha.
Just because it gets buried so much.
That makes sense.
So if you expand out that stitch length just a little bit when you're using metallic, you can really see it.
That's a really good tip.
However, back up. Let's backstroke.
We're backing.
However, if you are going to be using a plain cotton or poly variegated or matte, shiny, however thread you want to use it, I would increase your stitches per inch just so your pearls are a little bit more round. I could get away with it because this is a thicker thread being metallic, but you might want to, kind of increase that stitches per inch up to that 14.
14, that's what I was going to ask you. Okay, so using basic threads, 14 stitches per inch, going on full-on metallic, 11 stitches per inch.
I did 11, and the pearls worked out beautifully because the metallic is a little thicker.
Yeah.
But if you're working with like a normal Omni or Sofine or something like that, you want to increase that stitches so you can actually get a nice, smooth look to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. These are all really good tips. It turned out great. I can't wait to see it all cut and bound. And she's
the best part about it, I don't have to bind it.
I know, right?
That's the best part about this. This is wonderful.
I know, I love it. Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow morning for Good Morning LEQ. Bye.
Bye.